Hello, good evening,
Mm.
everyone. Welcome to the class tonight. I'm Dr. Asar Bear, my co-teacher here, Leah Schaefer.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
So here it is, the beginning of the holiday season, and we're just
Mhm.
thinking and about reflecting on the state of the world at this time, and it just feels like there's so much suffering. I mean, we have war in Israel, Palestine. We have the war in Ukraine continuing. We have all of these economic effects. We're dealing with high prices and lots of people. We have the usual problems of the capitalist economy, unemployment, and access to healthcare and all of this. Um,
Yeah.
and I think like we're talking before the show and whatever, and it feels like there's a certain element of just exhaustion with all this, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I definitely feel like, I know like a lot of us in the States are very grateful for all that we do have. But there's also like this air of almost hopelessness and helplessness, of how daunting our limitations are compared to the issues that are being presented to us, on a daily basis.
Right.
So
It's like it's a system that is, you know, feeds on our helplessness and,
yeah,
it inculcates that feeling. And, like when we think about something like war, and like, we don't ever seem to get really a vote on that, do we? Like every
yeah,
candidate that ever runs says, like, I'll stop that. And then they end up, what do they do, right? They continue it. And
yeah,
so,
yeah,
and we want to get into a feeling of gratitude, but I think the only real way to do that is to start with where we actually are,
yeah,
and
accepting where we are right now, accepting exactly what's going on right now.
yeah,
And and then, the holidays themselves, like, I know, like, there's so many things that I love about the holidays. There's so much nostalgia around it. And there's so many beautiful moments that happen, especially with people who we feel really close with and who we love. And so we're not trying to place, any kind of damper on the holiday spirit, but we also have to face the reality that this is not necessarily the easiest holiday season, like, through our awareness of what's happening throughout the world. And then also, I mean, that's on top of the triggers, the natural triggers of this season. And
yeah.
so our hope tonight, Dr. Sitar, it just sounds so formal.
You don't have to use
Our
the full title if you don't want to,
I don't know why I did that, but we we it's the pressure. No. But we hope to just, like, Satar is saying, part of having a healthy sense of self-esteem is just to accept exactly what is real, what's real for us.
Yeah,
So we want you to feel very welcome in whatever you're coming into this season with, and we're gonna work on, bringing ourselves to tapping into the continual renewal of life
yeah.
itself.
And we want to stress too, like that it's not about just experiencing the positive,
Mhm.
Um, there's a lot of new agey talk these days that's, positive this, positive that, like, you know, as if we could so easily deny the things that we label as negative, um, whether it's anger, frustration, fear, any of these things, right? We think of as negative. Um,
Yeah.
we the reality is that when you go into your heart, you're experiencing all the emotion that's there, and some of it is going to be you're going to consider positive, and some of it you're going to consider negative, and it's not really
Mhm.
about labeling and putting it into boxes, like our minds do that, right? Our minds are like, oh, this is in this box, that's in that box, but our hearts can feel it all, I mean, you think of all the positive experiences that you've had, often wrapped up
Mhm.
with other things, and
Right.
this is a way of strong feeling, it's not. just one thing, you know, it's all in there.
Yeah, I think that's actually really helpful to talk about, Satara, that it's all in our heart at one time, and there can be such conflicting feelings all at once, and that's okay, and that's natural, part of the heart, part of
Yeah,
being in the heart, in our heart.
yeah, very much
Mm.
so. And it's good to just adjust our expectations, right? So, we're not expecting life to be 100% positive, right? Well, life is not like that. I mean, we've all
No,
lived, and even a little child has lived long enough to know that life is not all positive. It's
no,
life is a
no.
mix, and our
Mhm.
meditation experiences. Let's be honest, right? Our meditation experiences are not going to be all positive. Our inner
Right.
experiences are not going to be all positive, but with meditation, we have this tremendous opportunity, right? Which is a lot of times we avoid our inner life because of, well, the parts we consider to be negative. But when we meditate, and especially when we use the breath, when we optimize the breath, when we focus on our hearts, we have the opportunity to really transform our inner space and not just be in it however it is, right? It's like if you had a room. It was like it has some beautiful aspects, but it was also kind of a mess. And you're like, okay, I can be in here, and I'm going to
Mhm.
focus on some of the good parts some of the time and some of the bad parts some of the time. But like you meditate, and it's like you can clean up that room. You can change,
Yeah.
you can move things around in that room, and maybe it suits you better.
Yeah, I've been really feeling that lately. Well, because it's true, like, to create that, this is something that Asatara and I were touching into before class, is, like, to empower ourselves that we have choices with
Yeah,
what we do, even when circumstances are not how we want them to be. We have a lot of choices. And coming into the holiday season, we can start to implement those choices toward creating the ideal that we want. And this is something that our meditations can help us to empower within
absolutely. Yeah.
ourselves.
I mean, for many of us who were talking about this beforehand too, just this time digs into our insecurities, and
Mm.
we feel all the lack, and we feel all the things that we're not. And there's so much of this, like, here's what a perfect family looks like, and here's what everyone being happy in the holidays looks like, and here's what success looks like. And if you're not experiencing that, you're cast out, you right? So, like
Mhm.
we were talking about last week, you're a loser, like this, right?
Mm.
And we all internalize these messages, and then it becomes like
Yeah.
this, our negative kind of voice that plays, right? Um,
I mean, I have that for sure. I definitely do. Yeah, I do I'll often like compare myself. So in addition to the kind climate of our world at this time, it's like then I have my own personal melodrama, you know.
yeah,
So
we all
like
do, right?
yeah, and I do get triggered, like and so coming into the holiday, I sometimes I'll compare myself like, oh, why don't I have more better financial security, or why don't I have, children, right? And so this is something very real for me. This is something I go through.
Right.
But at the same time, I made very specific choices in my life to be who I wanted to become,
Yeah.
and also to not repeat certain patterns that I would have had with certain people that I've been with in the past. And so I made those choices on purpose to create the life that I want, to go toward my ideal.
Yeah.
Um, and when I look at it like that, then I feel my power and I feel empowered. And so then it doesn't matter so much that I don't have the, income that some some of my family
Right.
members do.
Well, you make one makes different choices, and then I think when you
Mhm.
look back on it that way, and then you say, "Well, would I honestly have made different choices?" And
Yeah,
even knowing,
no.
it's like, if your answer is no, then it sounds like that's great. I mean, like, but there's always consequences, right? I mean, like, yeah, you
Mhm.
pursue your ideals, you pursue spirituality, you pursue yoga. I mean, these are not. good ways of making money. Let's face it, like, but they're good ways of growing. They're good ways of achieving transformation. They're good,
Yeah.
and so it's like there's a lot of benefit there, and I also think
Mhm.
it's sometimes really sobering to think of somebody who wishes they had gone the route that you took. Like
Oh my god, all the time, like,
there's
it's
lots of
so
people out there.
funny. It's
You
so funny, yeah, no, because it goes both ways, like, people will often express that to me, and
Yeah.
now I'm just, like, over here hanging my tiny shingle, like but, like but they, like, roll up in their, like, brand new car, so it's like
Yeah.
but it's very true because the thing is like, we can have the other pieces, but it feels like in our society you have to choose what you're sacrificing. It doesn't seem like you can have everything,
Yeah.
and we're lucky, you know what I mean? We're like the lucky ones,
No, I
I mean,
know.
I don't know if we're still the lucky ones, with the way that like, the way things are going, I don't know if we'll always be the lucky ones, right? But, like, um, we have been for a very long time, and so, and I know I am. I know I am very lucky in my life, just to be who I am. But in any case, I'm just saying, like, you can have one thing and then feel like you're missing a whole other part of your life, and I feel like that gets triggered in this
Yeah.
holiday season. Mm.
Absolutely. I feel you on that. And, for me, I have more of a sense of loss. I mean, like, I have two children, 13, 16. I went through a divorce. I'm actually still working on it, but, for me, it's like all of the loss of that life, that structure, that family, right? Like,
Mhm.
it was still a family, but it's so different, right? The old one has been shattered, and then we're struggling to create something new, and there's a lot of pain there. There's a lot of grief there, and I think many of us carry some kind of pain, that gets triggered by the that vision of like togetherness
Yeah.
and love and connectedness, and which is like it's
The
a
I
great beautiful vision, but like when it turns into like, oh, it should be like this, and if it's not, then it's bad and wrong. I mean,
Yeah.
that's then it becomes like a difficult message.
And I feel like we all go through that, like, no matter what, most everyone, I mean, like, most everyone goes through that, I think, during this season, during
Yeah.
the end of the it's the end of the year, and, it's like a time of reflection.
Yeah.
So, well, and Asatar, and I don't think you're alone, like, the amount of loss that people have had in the last few years has been daunting,
Yeah.
and it has come to people in many different ways, and so what do we do? What do we do to fill in these holes that we perceive in our life? And one of them, we just talked about changing our perspective, right? Um, but also, what's another thing we can do? And I really feel like it's always moving toward that ideal. So even though the ideal has to be shattered and recreated again, keep going toward it. Don't let ourselves give up on that. And that's where we can be powerful in our hearts to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautifully said, and life is gonna fall short of our ideal. That's the reality. That will always be the case. If life meets your ideal, it's not an ideal. Ideal is not of this world. It's a vision of something.
Right?
It's a vision of perfection.
I keep forgetting that, I keep I keep expecting it to be here. So
Yeah.
why isn't it here?
I think when you have a strong sense of the ideal, it's
Mhm.
like it's so real to you.
Yeah.
It's so real to you, and it's like, the world would just be so much better. It would be so much better.
Yeah.
And come on, it's possible. Like that, you
Yeah.
have that feeling, that longing. And I think
Yeah.
it's you know like that's good. That spurs us on. It gives us a reason
Mhm.
to do things, and to do big things. And, um, but it's also, it's a metaphor for the heart, right? Because it exposes us to pain and disappointment and loss, and when the world inevitably does not measure up uh, to our hopes, and then what do, right?
Yeah,
We give up our hope.
and then our Thanksgiving doesn't measure up to our hopes, and then, it's like, you know,
And we were talking
it's
about
just
how much this revolves around food for Thanksgiving, right? Because like we
yeah,
put all these messages onto the food, and like the food has to represent everything. And, it's got to be perfect, and it's
yeah,
like, it's not really about the food, but that becomes the symbol of all the things we're trying to get right. And
right. Yeah, all the dishes,
yeah,
like,
it's
yeah,
supposed to be like this,
and nobody will fight with each other, and nobody will get too drunk, and, so on,
right?
no one will embarrass each themselves.
If only the food is right, all those things will be.
No one will be single, it's like, anyway.
Yeah,
I think we said enough enough.
we've said too much.
We said too
As always, we hope it's helpful, but
Oh, man.
it's
I
about
you
what we
know,
experience.
I I'm just not that person, like, I love decorating for the holiday, I love the holiday, I love cooking, but I just have to be real with myself. Like, things are not always easy, and I feel like this year is hard,
Yeah.
So, anyway, the true togetherness is what we need, but we're not necessarily gonna get that on Thanksgiving. Sorry. Some of us will, not all.
I think we can sort of say that anytime we experience that, it's good,
Mm,
you know?
yeah, that's
Anytime we
yeah.
experience that connection, that togetherness, that community, or we could put it like we could say communion, I mean, with each other, with God, I mean, that's
Yeah.
all of those moments are incredibly precious. And, if meditation can be a means for that, if it can give us a training in that, if it can help us with that, um,
Mhm.
that can be very helpful.
Yeah. So let's meditate. Who's starting? Who's gonna start tonight? I don't remember.
Our friend Akbar Kadus is here, but
I'm so depressed now. I'm
I
sorry.
think he's messing with us. That's what I think.
But we are gonna go back up, people. That's why we're gonna meditate. First we go down.
Look at that face. He
Oh,
this
man.
guy does not get depressed.
That
Uh,
guy did not
there's
get
a serious photo in that one, but
depressed. Who should kick off tonight, Asatar? I don't remember who started last time.
I think you did, so I'll go first, I guess.
Okay. All right.
All right, so we begin by sitting in our upright posture and just check in with your body. And we were looking for a posture that is energized, that is upright, and yet is relaxed within that container. But ideally, your back is straight and your shoulders are back and your knees are slightly below the level of your hips, perhaps. The spine being upright is very important. It creates energy in your body. Meditation is about being still, going within, exploring the inner world. And with heart rhythm meditation, this method that comes out of Sufism, the Sufism of Hazrat Anayat Khan, we are really focusing on the heart, exploring the heart, the center of feeling, of emotion, of idealism, of what you hold to be sacred, of what you value, of who you are. And so the method at the most basic level is to breathe in and out through your heart. Now, of course, when you breathe, you're going to be breathing in and out through your nose. The breath is going to move through your nostrils. The energy of the breath is what I'm thinking of. Where you focus your attention, where you focus your mind, that is where the energy that is part of the breath, that is where that energy travels. So just imagine as you breathe in that your heart is taking in energy, taking in breath, taking in all that energizes your heart: love, light, inspiration, that feeling of being connected. And as you breathe out, you are expressing yourself, you are speaking in your unique voice, even through your silence. You are shining your light upon the world. And as you express yourself, you become more yourself. This is why we so long to express ourselves. And if you don't think that applies to you, I would suggest you spend a day without speaking and see if you find that difficult. We long to express ourselves. Now, we would like to really optimize the breath to make the breath as perfect as we can, to give ourselves the right energy as we meditate, as we take our courage and explore the inner world. So, to make the breath ideal would be to make the breath deep, slow, rhythmic, heart centered, and full. And I know it's a tall order, it's a lot to ask, especially if you're just getting started. But see, here's the thing: sometimes when you ask a lot, you get a lot. If you ask a lot from yourself, you might find, well, you don't aren't able to deliver it all, but you deliver a lot more than you thought. So let's begin by making the breath deep, and this means breathing down deep in your belly. As you breathe in, your belly expands and blows up like a big balloon. And as you breathe out, your belly contracts and your belly button moves toward your spine. Just really relax all of the muscles of your belly, except for the ones that are necessary in your core to keep your posture nice and upright. So, part of what you're learning here is about what muscles are necessary and which ones are not necessary. Which ones are you using as you breathe? Which ones are you using in order to sit upright? Which ones can relax and expand at this time? And then contract, as you must squeeze your abdominal muscles to contract your belly. And you may notice that breathing down in your belly brings your energy down into your body. Our energy is often up in our heads. where we're seeing things, hearing things, speaking, all of these senses that are concentrated, and the thought process. It's all up in our heads. And as we close our eyes, turn within, turn away from the external stimuli, it will still go on. There will still be noises, there will still be smells, there will still be sensations. But we are turning our attention within. And as you breathe down deep in your belly, you go deeper within. Now, the thing about breathing deep is it's very much like what you do when you're asleep. So, this is one reason why it's so important to have good posture as you meditate, because meditation is different from sleep. And it's different. It's the difference between steering a boat versus taking a ride on a boat. When we meditate, we are steering the ship. We are paddling the ship, whatever that. We're powering it. When we sleep, we're just dragged along by the current. We're taking a ride. It's a passive process. This is why concentrating your mind is so important in meditation. So, right now, we're concentrating on the breath. And the next step is to make the breath slow. Now, this helps with that sleepiness because you're interfering with your breath. You know, what happens when you sleep is your breath becomes deep, but it also is pretty rapid. You know, we unconsciously we breathe maybe about 20 times a minute. So, you know, that's kind of our ordinary rhythm. If we slow down the breath, we're taking fewer breaths per minute. And we do that by just paying attention to the breath and making it slower, allowing the breath to be more full, to expand and contract, and just breathe out more than you normally do. Breathe in more than you normally do. Allow the breathing cycle to take a longer amount of time. And the next step is to make the breath rhythmic and heart centered. We have already worked on making the breath heart centered, feeling that your heart is receiving as you breathe in, and giving, expressing, radiating as you breathe out. To make the breath rhythmic, we breathe in for the same number of heartbeats as we breathe out. Now, I know this is difficult. Some of you are going to be able to feel your heartbeat right away, and some of you are not. And that's okay. You just start wherever you are right now.
Mm.
You can feel your heartbeat and you breathe in and count the beats of your heart. Breathe in for the same number of beats as you breathe out. You can choose the count that is right for you. But if you work this practice over time, I would like you to get to the place where you can breathe in for 8 heartbeats and breathe out for 8 heartbeats. If you cannot feel your heartbeat, you just hold the intention. I'm looking for my friend. I'm looking for my heartbeat. can also place your fingertips pressing on your breastbone. You can press on your wrist lightly with your hand. These things might help you to experience the heartbeat. If all else fails and you still can't feel it, you just know it's still beating, still there. We still want to make the breath rhythmic though, so breathe in and just count in your mind. Imagine what you think your heart might be doing. Just count in the rhythm that you think is right. Might not be very far off. Same number of beats on the inhalation as the exhalation. Feel that your heart is giving and receiving, for that is life. Life is giving and receiving. Life is rhythm. Life is expansion and contraction. Life is renewal. Life is growth. The final step is to make your breath full, and that means to really engage your abdominal muscle and really squeeze your abdominal muscles as you exhale. Breathe out far more than you think you can, contracting the abdominal muscles, bringing the belly button toward the spine. Then allowing the belly to open as you inhale, allowing the breath to come in but controlled, and then allowing that breath to go all the way up into your chest, all the way up to your collarbone. And as you breathe out, reverse that. Chest falls, belly comes in further, further, further. And then you breathe in and you make your breath much more powerful, much bigger. And yet you're always trying to make your breath smooth, subtle, refined. You're aiming for two things that are normally not found together: power and subtlety. Well, both of these are aspects of your spirit, these are aspects of your heart. Your heart has tremendous power, and your heart has tremendous depth, subtlety, sophistication, so many layers. There's a whole world within you. And as you explore that inner world, that insecurity begins to drop away, it begins to fade. You begin to say, here I am. And yes, I know I have these flaws. I have made these mistakes. But I also have these strengths. I also have this energy. I have this spirit. Come to know yourself. And as you know yourself more and more, the feelings that others have about you are less important. to appreciate the depth and richness of your own heart, and then you see each one of us is a world. There is so much that we don't know, even about ourselves, let alone about someone else. So, what does it matter if someone has these judgments of you? You're going to be wrong. You're going to be too limited. Of course, the ones that hurt the most are the ones that have some note of truth in them. But one note does not make a symphony. There are so many times when I don't know what to do. I don't know what is the way forward. And this is the time when I go within and ask my heart. I tune into the endless spirit, the eternal, the perfect, unlimited that I feel within my heart. Ask that unlimited spirit that I call God. Can you give me some guidance? Can you give me some inspiration? Can you help me? And then I listen and wait for an answer, knowing that it might not be in words, it might be in a feeling, might be in an image, might be in a sensation, might be in a certain train of thought that feels compelling, or a set of images that feels like a dream. It may be in a feeling that arises in my heart, or it may be in a thought, particularly a thought that just pops into my head seemingly out of nowhere. Those are thoughts that are important to pay attention to. Most thoughts come from other thoughts, they have a connection. This is connected to that, and so on. Some of them have no connection to anything, and they just pop into your head. And if that happens during meditation, I would suggest you pay attention to that thought. But of course, it might not have the easy meaning. Sometimes you must look for what is beneath that thought. What is the feeling from whence it arises? Sometimes you don't know the way forward, but that endless, perfect, eternal spirit within you knows. And as you develop more faith in yourself, you begin to trust that connection to the divine more and more. May the blessings of God rest upon you. We'll end our meditation there, and when you're ready, open your eyes and come back to space.
Mm. Thank you so much. Mm. I really like what you said about having faith in ourselves, connecting to the spirit within that does know the way forward, even when we don't.
Yeah,
And having faith in ourselves and in developing our connection to the divine. I think that's really the key, to have faith in ourselves, on every aspect of the holiday. If it's having to do with if it's having to do with knowing that you can make it, be able to be your best version of yourself, or that you can put the boundaries up where you need to, or that you can recreate your ideal again and again. Like that's all stemming from this faith in ourselves. And it's easier to have faith in ourselves when we're tapping into our own internal divinity.
yeah, exactly.
So thank you for that beautiful light to connect to.
Well, thank you for understanding that so well. Really, you really restated it beautifully. So,
I felt it. I think a lot of people felt it. Hmm. Okay. Um, should we jump right into the next meditation?
sure. Yeah.
Um, yeah. Okay, my phone might die.
Where's
Speaking
your
of,
chart?
it's upstairs. You want to talk amongst yourselves for a minute? I'll go grab it.
Oh, you want to go get it? Okay, you go get it.
I mean, either way, it's not ideal, right? So,
It's not ideal. What percentage are you on?
I think 10 or 9 or something.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Okay, so let me no, I should have gone while I didn't realize though. Okay, it's okay. I'm gonna guide the meditation, and it might end.
Might end. That's a metaphor, you guys. Things end sometimes unexpectedly. So that's
Okay. Is this a
that's
perfect
part of our
example of how
teaching. Okay, that's part of our teaching.
it's perfect example of how we can't always be in our ideal. All right. So, okay, let's get right into it. So, Asatar did such a wonderful job of leading us into this space. So, let's drop right back in, deepening your breath. Slow, full, rhythmic breathing. And finding your heart, feeling your heartbeat as you breathe. And then I'm going to invite you to do the fire breath tonight. So, in through the mouth and out through the nose. But particularly, I want to work with the forward dimension of the heart. So I'm going to focus more on light. So even though it's called the fire breath, you're breathing in through the mouth, out through the nose. Deep, full rhythmic breath. We're going to focus on light. So stay connected with your heart and do your best to breathe in rhythm with your heartbeat, or cultivate any part of that you're cultivating now. And for now, just look into your heart, dive into your heart as you breathe this way, and as you start to gather your light inside with each breath. I don't know, maybe you're gathering light or maybe you're uncovering it within. So that's up to you. It is already there, but it can be enhanced. It can be enhanced through outer influence, and it can be enhanced by taking the lampshade off, so to speak. Really truly energizing it with your connection to the divine. What does that mean? That means opening up to the universal life on a big scale, to the spirit of life that never ends. Life will outlive all of what we know. It has been alive for longer than we can fathom. Life is as old as the stars in the sky and older still. And because it's so old and because it's so prominent, you can use that to be enhancing your own inner light, energizing your own heart, brightening your own heart, your own light. I want to invite you to dive into your heart as you cultivate this and really ask yourself, has humanity, has human life as we know it ever been perfect? Maybe we can stop being so hard on ourselves and so hard on other people in our immediate family and in our friendship groups. Because why should they be perfect if humanity's never been perfect? Why should I be perfect if there is no history of perfection? Like, we can idealize the person of the past, but I guarantee if we knew them, there would be parts of them that would not be so perfect or so great. Maybe there's been a few. I think it's very rare. Very rare. It's inhuman to be imperfect, to be perfect. It's not human to be perfect. And so let that go, like don't allow that to taint the beauty of the light that's already within and already all around. And let's open up the back of our heart. So the forward dimension of the heart, the inhale through the mouth, just like you're doing, goes into the energetically into the back of the heart. So thinking about between the shoulder blades. And I want you to imagine either your ancestors or your favorite prophet or your favorite sage or your favorite ideal human that you remember, that you feel connected to. Or maybe it's a deity. Maybe humans are too flawed for you. Maybe it's a deity, some kind of divine ideal. Ask them to come back behind you. Be vulnerable and invite you to be vulnerable enough to ask them to stand behind you now. And imagine that they're sending light to you, so they're putting their hands out. And you can put as many people back there as you want, as many beings as you want. And they're putting their hands out and they're sending light into the back of your heart as you inhale through your mouth. And there's so much light that it starts to fill your whole back body. Maybe slowly at first, but that's where you're going. And your job is to open up the back of your heart, to open up this sense of vulnerability, to let your shield down. And breathe that light in, these support at your back, these influence that even though humanity will never be perfect, it doesn't mean that humanity does not evolve, and it does not mean that we do not evolve, and that we can't perpetuate the light, perpetuate the love, and create it. We're not quite there yet. Right now, we're just receiving, inhaling into the back of your heart, that energy, that support for you as a continuum, as one tiny, beautiful continuum of life. Receive that support to your back. Let it fill your heart up. So don't just stop with the back, but let it actually go into your heart. Breathe it into your heart. And as you exhale out of your nose, let your heart fill up even more with that light and with that support. All the beings at your back, wanting you very much to live your fullest expression of yourself, wanting you to have faith in yourself so that you can be a torch in the darkness, so that you can be a beacon, that your soul can be a beacon for all the other souls that need one. Can you feel that? Let your heart fill up with the light from your ancestors or from the deities or from the prophets or the sages, maybe all of them. Breathe it in, fill your heart up. And if you're having the sense of a lacking of some sort, maybe it's through a loss, or maybe it's through the dissonance of the world, the state of the world right now, or maybe it's just from that feeling of longing for something we haven't attained yet. Bring the light into that place of longing, into that pain. Because If you imagine that you were whole and that you were complete, what would that mean? What would that mean? That would mean that you become the beacon. That would mean that you become a source of light for others, that you become a resource, that you're able to contribute to the light in the room, to the holiday spirit. But you can do that right now. You don't need any of the things you think you need to be able to do that right now, just by filling your heart, becoming that light, becoming that beacon. Let your heart be full with spirit. Drink it in. And then as you exhale out your nose, begin to let your heart shine it out. Begin to allow your heart to radiate that light. Because you're a part of the continuum. You know, life is always renewing itself. And you're a part of that. You're a part of shining the light onward. You are a part of creating the ideal. You're a part of the reason that we can believe that we can evolve. You're a part of the reason we believe that we're not going to just give up or stand still or just watch it all happen and do nothing. You are a part of the reason that we can continue the light into form. Try to radiate your heart's light. Because I guarantee you everyone needs it, including ourselves. It's not about one-upping, or it's not about what I have or don't have. It's about contributing to the continuum of the light, of the spirit, of the love. Anytime that we continue the light through ourselves, it is a cause for celebration. Even if it's in the smallest degree, helping someone through a kind gesture, offering your hand, offering your love, offering your joy, offering your compassion at the imperfection. That is life renewing itself in real time. That is light living in real time. And that is what we're craving. That's what we're craving. Full heart, full heart, full of light, love, and imperfection. And joy all the same, even more so. As you're ready, go ahead and move your body. Thank yourself we're practicing tonight or this morning or this afternoon, depending where you are. And open up your eyes. Mm.
Mm, thank you, Leah. I love the focus on light that you
Mm.
brought, the renewal of that. And just we got this feeling of just being bathed by that light and
Mm.
how beneficial that is for our spirit. Our spirits
Right.
are light. And it's funny because I remember us talking about this beforehand, right? And it's like we have all of these things we're thinking of and all these things we're working on. And it's like, yes, what is the answer for people? And like, and how tempting it is, like for anyone who's a teacher, right? How tempting it is to want to give the answer. But sometimes one doesn't have the answer, is the honest truth, right? And sometimes it's
Mm.
like, well, it's more about the process than it is about some answer. An answer is a mental construct after all. I think
Yeah, and
it's
it almost like creates a definite end, but life doesn't end, so there's
life
no
doesn't.
definite end.
Yeah. An
Mm.
answer to be alive, it has to keep on evolving, and it has to keep on growing. And it's like,
Mm.
you find the answer within. And so hopefully everyone got a sense of that. I know that that's maybe not the easiest lesson, but
Yes. So share your light, everyone, this holiday season, and fill your light up, fill your heart up with the light of all the beings that support you, exactly where you are. It doesn't mean we have to deny what we're experiencing, but fill your heart up anyway and keep going forward towards sharing that light and creating it.
absolutely. And we're very grateful for all of you. Thank you for joining us tonight. And of course, if you'd like to support the show, we have a link to the Patreon below. And we'll be back next week. So till then, my friends, namaste.
And happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Thank you.